Hi friends, this is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average Canadian wolfpack come together to talk about life stresses, messes, and successes. A safe space where being yourself is the ultimate goal. Each week we will bring you new episodes sharing our opinions on a ton of different topics in hopes we can get a better understanding of ourselves, each other, and this crazy world we live in. We want to build a community where we can show up as ourselves, be real, and lay it all out there. By sharing our opinions and experiences, we hope to reach others who can relate so we can all help each other learn, grow, and heal. But please keep in mind, as a disclaimer, none of us here are professionals, no one is giving any advice. We are strictly speaking of our life experiences, our opinions, and for entertainment purposes only. Now, with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Be Real Babe podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by the show today. We hope that you have a good time. And if you're a returning listener, watcher, supporter, thank you guys so much from the bottom of our hearts for coming back time and time again. For those that don't know me, my name is Brandy. I am the host of the show. And today you guys were on episode 165 and we are talking about BII again because you guys know how important this topic is to me and my advocacy in this area because it has affected so many people in my life that are close to me and that I've gotten close to because of being an advocate. So to end the season with my favorite advocacy, we're going to be talking about BII, and we have a beautiful woman joining us all the way down from New York. I'm so excited for you guys to meet her. She is a light. Her story and her strength just blow me away. Every single time I meet one of these survivors, they just completely blow me away and motivate me, inspire me to continue doing what I'm doing and for always fighting for women like them, because without women like them, your girl would have been in the same position. And I thank my lucky stars every day that I fell down the hashtag BII so I never got breast implants, because I would 100% be someone that would go through the same thing that these women do. And I'm just so grateful for them that they gave me the opportunity to know this stuff and be truly informed, because unfortunately, not everyone out there that are doing these things are informing the people that they're serving, and that's trash. And we hate it, and we are not here for it, so we are speaking out about it. But before we get into this amazing episode, you guys, I just want to remind you, if you are watching us on YouTube or Rumble, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on those notification bells so you know when we drop a new episode. If you're listening to Spotify and Apple, you can also turn on notifications and give your girls some reviews if you feel so inclined to do so. You're feeling 2024 is it. It's the year. I'm going to take a second and I'm going to review these babes, and I'm going to give them 5 stars because they're amazing. You're doing it right now. You're taking the time. I'm giving you time. You can't say, I'll do it after the show. You're doing it right now. Just kidding. Thank you guys always for the support. We appreciate you so much. If you want to find us on social media to reach out to have your own show, maybe argue with me about something that I've said, or tell me that you love it, or whatever it is, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at the Be Real Babe Podcast. Please reach out. It means so much to me, you guys, when you do that. Let me know if you like the shows. Season 7 is going to be a little bit different, so I'm going to be really leaning on you guys to be there for me and let me know what you guys think and loving it, because as mentioned, I'm taking the show to 10 seasons. I am not giving up, no matter how many times things have gotten in my way, no matter how many times I tell myself I don't know what I'm doing. I am doing this for 10 seasons. So let me shut up and let's finish on one of my last advocacy episodes of recording 2023, our first advocacy episode of 2024, the last one of the season. All right, guys, thanks, and we'll see you in the episode. All right, babes, it's time to get on to the show. And with me today, I have a very special guest joining me all the way from the Americas. I would like to invite and welcome Stephanie to the show. Hey, babe, how's it going?
Good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
You know what? My favorite thing on planet Earth is when someone reaches out to us and I don't have to be a stalker for people and guests and like creep people. So I just want to say thank you for reaching out to us and people listening. It warms my heart so much because it means that you kind of see value in our advocacy and that you want to share and you see what we're doing and you want to be a part of it. So like, honestly, thank you. I was so excited. I screamed, went to my boyfriend because I was like, I need a sign. Should I keep doing this? And then the next morning I woke up, Stephanie in my inbox saying, hey, I'd love to come on your show.
I was so happy that you responded, and I was like, oh yes, this is this is amazing. Another platform, another way to share the story and get everything out there. So thank you so much for having me today.
Course, I'm so and then the fact that, and I feel like we all kind of have sharing guests, like people keep traveling through because all of our different platforms have different areas in the world, right? Kind of working, with the girls down in the States, like Robin and Amanda,
Yep.
and and then you got Bianca over in Australia,
Yes.
and then you got me kind of up here, and there's definitely more Canadians, of course, but it's kind of nice for we're all sharing, and so that each kind of country can kind of see that it's not just their country, it's actually a worldwide problem what we're talking about here, and it's awful but also united at the same time. And it's
Correct.
like you're getting more powerful the more advocacy you're doing and the more you're getting it out there. So tips off to all you girls, because I don't got boobs and I would have gone and got some if it wasn't for women like you sharing. And that's why I share it,
Thank
because
you. And I appreciate it.
I I want you guys to know that it's not for nothing. That I know you all say if it's just one life, one girl not going on the table, that means something. I'm saying
Absolutely.
I'm your girl.
There you go. And you know what? I'm so glad that you decided not to do it. So kudos to you.
Thank you. And I'm very blessed to of have like this weird phobia about surgery. I think that's always what kind of held me back personally.
Good.
And I think if I had like a little bit more balls about it, I would have done it. So I'm kind of glad, sometimes I hate that like germaphobe freak kind of overthinker, but other
Yeah.
times I'm like, it's
But
probably for
it
the
worked in your
best in this
favor.
world. Yeah, yeah. So obviously, guys, we're talking about BII today, and but before we get on to that, Stephanie, can you tell me just a little bit more about yourself, where you're joining us from today, what you do, and then we'll start leading into your journey and how you found out what BII was.
Sure. So my name is Stephanie Grimaldi Lang. I am from Long Island, which is New York. It's not New York City. I live on the island. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of three beautiful children. I have a son who is 26, a daughter who's 25, and another daughter who is 22. So we are empty nesters now, which is a great thing, but it's crazy because I say to myself, you know what, when they're little, you're like, I can't wait for them to grow up and everything. But now that they're grown up, I miss them so much.
Totally,
But
totally. I
I,
think that's
I
how my
work,
mom feels too.
yeah, exactly. It's good and bad, but I do work full time. I work for an electrical company. I'm a
Nice.
project manager, so my
Wow.
days are very busy with doing all different projects and everything. And on my spare time, I like to go ahead and share my story and be an advocate for breast implant illness.
I love that. And do you have an Instagram where you share all that, where people can find you just right off the gate?
I do have an Instagram for it's breast implant illness info, and it's breast underscore implant underscore uh, illness underscore info. That's where
Perfect.
you'll find all my information, all my stories. Um, I like to share everything. I like to be transparent about it because you know what, even like you said earlier, just to save one person, that's our
Something.
goal.
Yeah, and just planting seeds too, right? I think that's my biggest thing is I love just planting the seeds where it's like I'm not saying this is what is happening to you because I can't say that. I have absolutely no idea, but I could say it happens to people. And
Yes.
these are the women just on my tiny platform alone, just as a tiny podcaster. I've had 7 different episodes out of my 160 something on breast implant illness. It's not uncommon. It's not, and so it's just planting that seed of when someone's sick and they do have them and they're not finding the answers, I want them to then have that in their pocket of being like, maybe this is it, right? And maybe it's not,
Yes.
because some women it's not. And that's the
Correct.
honest, scary truth. But more often than not, it seems to be most women feel better afterwards, which is kind of, I mean, can you link it together? I think you can
Yeah.
personally. So, how
Yeah.
did you stumble across? Oh, so let's start actually from the beginning. So, how did you come to having implants? Was that like early on in life after having babies?
Yep. So I received my first implants in 2000.
Okay.
I had just had my son, everything kind of changed. I was young when I had him. I wasn't at the point where, okay, I probably should have just done the lift and,
Hmm.
just done it that way. But I was like, oh, I don't want the scars, because I was young. So I was like, oh,
Oh,
implants,
yeah.
right? They're safe. Okay.
Yes.
That's what I
Yeah.
was told.
Everyone. Yeah.
So I had my first set in 2000. I had the textured saline implants, which were the safe ones
Same.
because they were saline, right? So, okay. Well, I was like, this is fine. I have saline. If they were to
Yes.
leak, it's just
Yeah.
salt water, right? Like, fine, fine. So I had them for about 8 years. I had also worked for a plastic surgeon at the time. So, you know, you have a couple of perks for working for a plastic surgeon.
100%.
And in 2008, I decided, you know what, the silicone now became the most popular
Popular.
ones, and we were allowed at that point to have the silicone ones because when I got them in 2000, we were not allowed. Silicone was banned at that point. So in 2008, silicone had become it's okay, and well, you know what? That's better. They feel a little bit more, you know, normal and stuff like that. So I decided to go ahead and have an exchange, and I went from my saline to my silicone. And actually, what had happened was in 2008, I went for my mammogram, which thank God I had my mammograms from 2000. I just
Yep.
constantly was religious because I had the implants. I did
Yep.
it all the time. But
Smart.
obviously, because I was having the exchange, my doctor wanted me to have the mammogram done. So in
Mhm.
2008, I went for my mammogram and I was scheduled to have my exchange. And they had found some stuff on my mammogram. So it's kind of just like, oh, all right, what's going on? It's probably just maybe deodorant. We thought maybe, you know, because,
Yep.
you know, this is what they're saying. So basically, we went through this whole channel, and it they didn't know what it was. So at this point, I couldn't go ahead and have my exchange because we weren't sure what was
Going on.
going on.
Mhm.
So I had to find a breast surgeon that you know could go ahead. So we did the MRIs, we did the sonograms, we did all this stuff. They still don't know what these calcifications were that were in my right breast.
Okay.
So I believe it was December of 2008. We decided we were going to go ahead and exchange it, but I had to do it in a hospital. And I had to do it there because I was having the plastic surgeon, the breast surgeon, all at the same time because they were going to remove the implant,
Yep.
um, see what was going on,
Going on.
obviously do any type of imaging while I was on the table because at that point we didn't know where these calcifications were. My MRI did show that I had some fluid around my implant, and this is now again 2008. So they take the implant out. They found that inside the implant there was stuff. Don't know what it was, but there was stuff in the
Ugh.
saline textured implant. Okay,
So
so
safe.
the good news was it wasn't cancer. I was okay. So
Okay.
they exchanged it. They put the silicone in. I woke up. I wasn't even sure if I was going to have implants at that point because there was a chance that if they did find something, it was you know it wasn't gonna I wasn't gonna have to
Happen.
you know have anything put back in. But everything was good. Had the silicone in. So the reason I say this part of the story is because when we go back to it, I just want to go back to the in
Okay.
2008. I had fluid around my implant that we didn't know what it was.
Okay.
So now let's start fast forwarding. We have new implants in 2008. There's silicone. In 2009, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. Don't know what that was. All of a sudden, I had all these symptoms, and you know, I was like, "What the heck, Hashimoto's?" You know.
Sounds like a bomb.
Well,
You
yeah,
know?
and I was kind
Yeah.
of like, "What? What's what the you know
Yeah.
what is Hashimoto's?" You
Is
know.
this real?
Yeah, and I'm like, okay. And so I had a huge like goiter on my neck.
Mhm.
I was having all the symptoms. So I was like, oh my goodness, well, you know, I'm young at this point. I think I was definitely in my early 30s, I think. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking like, okay.
Oh
So
my
now
goodness.
you go through a couple of years and I don't remember if it was around 2010, I started to hear about breast implant illness. Don't know where I saw it, heard it, whatever, but it was something. And all of a sudden I was kind of like, oh, I wonder if this is related to my breast implant illness, you know, like the breast implants.
Yeah.
So now I'm just kind of like going through life or whatever. And probably about 7 years later, it was like all of a sudden this aha moment where I was like, you know what? I had found this Facebook page that had all these women that had the same symptoms that I had. And I'm going, oh my God, this is crazy. Okay, like, there's no way you have
That.
100,000, 150,000 women all with the same symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, like, okay, I did my research. Now I was like full-fledged. Okay, I'm getting my implants out. So now I'm
Yeah.
doing research. I'm checking on all different doctors, because a lot of
They're
doctors
not all
didn't,
great.
nope, and they don't believe in it,
And
right?
they
So
don't believe it.
they think
Nope.
you're cuckoo. So I said,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's find the best surgeon. So I found a surgeon in Florida
Nice.
that she does a lot of the explants, and she understood about taking this capsule out, which was the biggest thing that
For
out
you.
of everything that I say that people understand, when you have your implants removed, you need that capsule taking out as well, because that is the biggest key.
Mm-hmm.
So I found a surgeon. She was booked out a year in advance. I was okay. I said, you know what? It gave me time to save up the money because it was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, fine. We'll go to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It's a year out, gives me a year to save. And here we go. So I scheduled my explant on May of 2020.
Mm-hmm. Oh no.
So now here we go. We
Oh
know what
no.
2020 was all about.
Oh
So
no.
of course, May of 2020, my surgery got postponed, and it got postponed till December of 2020. It was
So now
okay.
we're almost like 2 years
Correct.
since.
Right.
Yeah.
But I didn't care. I didn't care.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
I'm getting them out. So it's
Okay. Yep.
fine. I have a little bit
Yep.
more time to lose weight. Like I
Yeah.
just, in my head, I was
Prepare.
totally fine. It was totally fine.
Yeah.
So then my husband says, can you just do me a favor? Can you please see a doctor here in New York?
Mm-hmm.
Just do me a favor. And I go, hon, you don't understand. I've done my research. This doctor understands
Yeah.
breast implant illness. Like, she does a lot of these. Like, and he says, but just do me a favor. Could we just please go for this consultation? So I said, fine, I'll go ahead. And I went for the consultation, fell in love with the doctor. I thought he was such a great guy. He understood breast implant illness. He understood that I wanted to have the en bloc capsulotomy. He
Yep.
understood exactly what I needed, and he didn't look at me like I had 10 heads that, I'm talking about breast implant illness. He
Yes.
understands me. So,
Yeah.
okay, great, right?
Yay.
So,
Yeah.
um, he the surgery was like around the same amount of money, so I was like, okay, you know what, I don't have to go to Florida, pay for,
Save money.
hotel, all that kind of stuff,
Flight.
whatever. So I just and he actually had a surgery date sooner, so it was
Ooh.
October of 2020.
Oh,
So okay, all right,
no
great.
brainer.
So now I'm excited. I'm having my explant done. I think it was October 5th, I think, of 2020, with Dr.
Nice.
Light over in Great Neck. Um, and at this point now, I'm excited. I'm going to have my explant done. I go and I have it done, and I'm great. We have it done. I explanted. We're good. I did have a little bit of an issue where I had a hematoma, so I had to go back the
Okay.
next day. And everything was
Yep.
fine.
Yep.
So I wind up having my 2-week follow up, and I'm feeling amazing. This is like I really, like, I can't believe how much of a difference I felt in the 2 weeks. And I go to see my doctor for my post-op, and he's like, "How you feeling?" And I said, "I'm doing okay. I feel like $1,000,000," because I really did. I'm like, wow. And he says, "Okay, let's talk about your pathology." And at that point, and I can cry, and I could feel myself at that moment when he said it. It was like, oh my God, it's not good. And I said, "It's not good." And he says, "No." He says, um, "We found breast cancer on your capsule." I was by myself. I didn't have anybody there. I'm like, "Wait, what did you just say?" And it's like that Charlie Brown moment. Wah 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 wah. And I'm like, what is this? What is DCIS? I'm like, it's crazy, because I'm thinking to myself, like, no, this can't be happening. Like,
Yep.
it's it,
It's done.
it
It's
it's not.
over.
right, breast cancer.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No.
Not me.
No.
Not
Yeah.
me, you know.
Yeah. I took them
And
out. Like, I'm over this.
yeah, and I'm thinking like, but again, here's the, I call it the silver lining, right? The aha moment. It was on my capsule. Had I not taken out that capsule and just left it in my body, who knows what it would be in a couple of years from now. You know what I'm saying? So that's
100%.
why I say it's so important. Make sure you get that capsule out. Um, for me, it was a miracle. You know, like
Mm.
I feel like everything happens for a reason. I feel like, you know, God sent me on this path. He, you know, obviously there was a little bit of a detour. Didn't go to the surgeon in Florida. He detoured me to Dr. Light. He was the one that discovered my DCIS.
Mhm.
And you know, uh, and then I started my road to recovery from that. But um, I also, in my heart of hearts, feel that back in 2008, when I
Mhm.
had that fluid around my implant, I believe that that could have been the start of BIA ALCL. That's just my feeling.
Mhm.
Whether or not this winds up coming out in the next couple of years with women who have, you know, ALCL, and they wind up having kept it in, and you know, does it turn into DCIS? We don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a little coincidental that in
Sus.
2008, on my right side, that implant that showed I had that calcifications or whatever it was, that
Mhm.
here I am in 2020, the DCIS is found on my right side. So
Mhm.
I
It's a
don't
little
know.
too coincidental to me. Like, there's some things, and I know, being a fan of all stories and conspiracies, I love to point out things that I hope that makes sense. But
Yes.
at some point, when you're looking at people's experiences, and you, like you said, all these women, and I would say 90% of the women I talked to, it was like Nicole's Facebook group. Oh, there was a Facebook group. I found that BII hashtag. That's how I found it, was
Yep.
BII hashtag. And the first girl that I followed actually didn't get her capsule out. And she was like me, very small chested, got big boobs, didn't get the capsules out, was extremely sick after her explant, found out about the capsule thing because she was also early on learning about this as well. So there wasn't like podcasts like there are now
Yep.
explaining, like, make sure to check this, like telling women what the checklists of the surgeons that they're going to. It's just a surgeon will do it, right? And the deformity that came after for her, because she had nothing, then they surgered her, then they had to go back and then scrape all of that because same thing, it was bad pathology. She was super sick, and then she was really like deformed after that, and she was really, like, in all fairness, struggling. And she was like, how did I not, like, I think there was like that guilt of like not looking into breast implants, then this happening, and then quickly going to get the explant without, and fairly so, there's not information out. This is why awareness is so important, advocacy, and going and getting it done, because she just wants to feel better, getting them out, to not feeling
Yeah.
better, to spending a whole year trying to figure out what the hell, and then find someone that says, make sure you get the on block. And the fuck do you mean an on block? And
Right.
then she looks into it and she's like, oh my God, I didn't have that done. My surgeon had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Goes in, gets it out. She's feeling better. But because she had that whole year with that in, not saying, but it sounds like it did a lot more damage to her, and it's just, it's insane to me that at that 2008, when they didn't say to you, like, maybe we don't put these back in. You know what I mean? Like, maybe we just pause for a second. Like, it seemed like there was a little bit of a pause, and like, and then it was like, oh yeah, no, good. And it's like, unless you had 100% clear to go, you should have said no. Not you, but they should have said no, I can't. Or at least provided you that understanding of, I don't know how this is going to go.
Right.
So taking them out, in my mind, means less, like, it's not there. So taking it away is going to take some of the problem away. But like keeping it in, how can you guarantee that that's not going to hurt anybody down the road? It's
Yep.
just, it is
Yeah.
insane to me. Can we dial back to 2000 and to 2008 with the saline? Did you have any symptoms then where you, or was like, like some women, they're just great. Like, oh, I got my titties, I feel great, I'm, confident, I'm not feeling sick. If I am a little run down, I'm a new mom. It's probably because I'm a mom, busy, working,
Yep.
and that's what my one girlfriend, one of my very first ones, she was a mom, and that's what she attributed to. She's just a lazy mom. She just, couldn't keep up. There was something, she wasn't eating right, she wasn't exercising right. And she was like, and I just kept telling myself I'm a bad, lazy mom. And I was depressed, and then it took my mental health down. She's like, lo and behold, it's my tits. But for the first like 2 years, I was so happy. Like, this is everything I wanted. And everyone has that moment where it just declines.
Yeah.
It's
No.
it's almost not if, it's almost when,
Yeah.
at this point, is what I've noticed personally. Some people could be 20, 30 years. And maybe there are people that are going through it that have, like, let's say, massive depression and anxiety, and they're not attributing it
To breast implant illness. Yeah. I mean, in 2008, I was totally, I had no symptoms. So the only reason I was deciding to take them out was, one, I had the money to do it. And two,
Yeah,
I
of
said,
course.
okay, you know what? You're supposed to change them anyway. They're
Yep.
not lifetime devices. So I was like, all right, 10 years, you change them. I'm changing it a few years earlier, but obviously it was a
Of course.
godsend that I took them out, because they were the
Mhm.
ones that were recalled. So I had the textured saline implants that were recalled, and I did take them out in 2008, which I'm grateful I did. But again, they're out, they're gone. I have no idea where they are. I have fluid around my implant, which is now, a, to me, an arrow pointing to BIA, ALCL, possibly. I know I have pathology.
Mhm.
They didn't know what it was back in 2008. I can't even remember what they wrote on the pathology report. But again, here is textured implants, saline, the ones that were recalled. And here I am now in 2020. I have breast cancer. I don't know. I just,
Seems a little too sus to
and it's
me.
all
If
the
it was,
right side, all the right breast, nothing on the
yeah.
left. It was the right side. So
You just favor that one, I guess.
I guess, I
Does
don't
it
know.
get more attention?
I guess so. I guess. I don't know. It's
I
just,
always kind of wonder, right? Like, I'm just so curious when it is something that's on one side of the body. I always kind of wonder, like, what does the body just go? You know what? We're going right. We're going left.
yeah,
Like,
like,
is there something that we could do to prevent that? Like, do we, like, if you're right-handed, does that mean it's going to be the right side?
yeah, I don't
The
know.
body's so crazy. That's insane.
It
So,
is. It's kind of,
and I'm so sorry that happened to you, because I can imagine the grief that and the confusion that must be, of like sitting in that appointment being, hell yeah, I'm done, I'm over this, I'm on my healing journey,
mhm.
just to be like smack in the face with, you're going to be now on a new journey for this. And the kind of anger that you probably immediately felt, because you probably immediately went back to 2008 and was like, hold up, what?
Yeah.
Like, like, I think that's an immediate correlation. We know I'm no doctor, I'm no professional, but come on, like, how silly can you be? Like, what else would it be? What else would it be?
Right. Nothing else makes any sense, right? So
No.
you're just kind of like, okay, well, you know what? It probably was.
Yeah.
And either A, we didn't catch it back in 2008, or it just progressed
Since.
into DCIS.
Yeah.
So, um,
So that was
yeah, that, that,
2020.
that,
Where did you go after that? You say you obviously started your journey towards that. Could we
yeah,
talk about, like,
so
how did that start?
I had to do, because what had happened was, since they didn't know exactly where it came from. They knew it was the right breast, but you don't know, was it at the 12 o'clock? Was it at 2? Was it in the front? They don't know where, because it was on the
Yeah.
capsule. I had to do 17 rounds of radiation, the whole breast. So I decided to go down that path. And the reason I started with that part was because I felt that I just had this major surgery, right? I just explanted, I had a lift. I'm like, I cannot go through another surgery at this point. I just
Mhm.
physically, mentally, I couldn't do it. So I said, you know what? Let's try the radiation. Let's go down that road. Let's see what happens. And obviously I know that down the road, if I ever needed it, I have an option of, doing a double mastectomy, and there's other options. So I said, let me just tackle one thing at a time. So I did the 17 rounds of radiation. My last day, which is, to me, like the best present I could have gotten, was on Christmas Eve. That was my last treatment. I rang that bell. I was so excited. So Christmas Eve means more to me than anything right now, even just because that was my last day of treatment. So
Yeah. In
um, that was
2020.
in 2020. So December of
Okay.
2020. My
Amazing.
last round of radiation was on Christmas Eve,
That's beautiful
which
Christmas
was
Eve.
great. So
Yeah. What a celebration day.
yes, absolutely. So now my journey continued. It's crazy for anybody that is dealing with breast cancer. You know that you have your every 3 months, you have your appointment for either mammogram, sonogram, MRI, and you're just doing this every 3 months because they're, just checking.
Hmm.
And I was going through that journey, and it was crazy because I think it was either in the 6 month or the nine month mark they found something. They saw something.
Hmm.
So here I am, at the place going with the mammo sono, the back and forth. They see something, got to come back. Now I got to biopsy it. So the emotional roller coaster that you're on.
Hmm.
And after that, I just said, you know what? I go, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with it anymore. I really can't. Like, I'm just on pins and needles all the time. I said, I'm going to decide to just take them off. Let's just do the double mastectomy.
Yeah.
And obviously, your options after having a double mastectomy, most people will go towards implants, right? Because that's an
Yeah.
option.
Yeah.
Not in my case, it's not, because I'm
No.
not going down that road again. So my
Not
doctor,
not today, Satan.
nope,
No.
nope. But at the same time, I didn't want to be flat chested. That was my
Totally.
personal choice, right?
Yep.
So I didn't know this at the time, but Dr. Light tells me, well, there's another option. It's called a deep flap. And I'm like, well, what is that?
Mhm.
And he explains to me that they use your stomach, the fat from your stomach, to recreate breasts. And I was like, wow, okay. You
Yeah.
know what? For me, that seems more of an
Great.
option because I'm not doing the implants. I'll go with the deep flap. I had, some fat around my belly area. So I was like, you know what? Get rid of it.
Two for
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, little did I know how big this procedure was. But at this point, I knew that there was always something inside me saying, just, you know what, if you at least get rid of all the breast tissue, there's a better chance of it not ever
Being
coming
done.
back.
Yeah. Fair.
So in February of this year, I did the double mastectomy with the deep flap.
Good for you.
Um, it was definitely a very, very big procedure.
Heavy. Yeah.
And I'm, like, I've been through procedures, so I'm like, I'm such a good, whatever. Well, it definitely took me a while, but
Fair. Fair.
honestly, though, it was the best decision I ever made. I am extremely happy with everything. One less thing to worry about. That's behind me now. And now it's just about, enjoying life and spreading the word and helping others that, happen to be going through any of these journeys, whether it's breast implant illness or breast cancer, knowing the different options that are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you ever spoke to Robin
I,
before?
yes,
Yeah,
I
so she
actually,
has that.
yep,
Yeah, she was one of my first two, and she's been on the show twice now. I think I'm gonna have her and Amanda back on in the new year. Well, I guess at this time this launches, it will be the new year.
yep.
But one thing
Love,
that
love, love,
really,
love.
really ups, love her, and I love what she's doing. And what really bothered me is that I didn't even think about that is how much the plastic surgeons kind of attack women with breast cancer that have the double mastectomies or one or whatever they're going through, and kind of lean to that, well, to feel more like a woman. And I'm not saying like absolutely do what you need to do, but to put someone at risk and not tell them, hey, this could possibly, maybe, we don't know if it leads to cancer, but I just let you know after you just went through that,
Yep.
maybe we should just let you know that there are some women that experience it, but that's not going to make them money, right? And that's a one big argument that I get. And while I'm advocating with people, the ones that have it, that are like, well, there's no studies that say, well, you know what, I've had women on my show that have been a part of those studies, and they always are at the beginning, but there's never any follow up and there's never any
Mhm.
closure, and they're very selective on the studies that get out. So sorry, I don't really believe in studies and data, and let's say like the FDA or Health Canada like we have here, because most of those entities can be bought and paid for by the people that are doing the harm. So you know it's, there's a regulating body, but they're not listening to the people that are getting hurt. Then what's the fucking point of that regulating body, right? And it's just like, oh, you're crazy, or you're making it up. Oh, it could be a million other things. Okay, maybe. But
Right.
my thing is informed consent. If you know
Exactly.
that breast implant illness could be a byproduct and you're still okay with going ahead because that makes you feel good, do whatever you want.
Exactly.
Totally
Yep.
fine. It's your life, it's your body. You need to go through it. That wouldn't be the personal journey I would want to take because I have a body that rejects everything. So there's a very good chance that I would have rejected them as well and gotten
Yep.
sick. And I'm also I just was like, I would rather work on trying to just accept it personally than put myself at risk because I don't know what this could do. And I've also been hurt with my fertility with birth control.
Okay.
So, that everyone
Mm.
has their kind of journey where something has messed them up medically, where they've questioned something that is
Mm-hmm.
safe, deemed as normal. Everyone has it. Everyone does it. It's fine. Birth control's fine. Is it? Because I'm 37 and I can't have a baby,
Yeah.
right? Like, is it? And so I'm not saying that's everybody. I'm not saying everyone should be off birth control. What I'm saying is at 16, I wish someone would have said, "Hey, doing this at this age, you may have some issues as you age because you're actually blocking your natural cycle and we don't really know all the time what that actually is going to end up being for each individual based on their life, their environment, all of that, right?" And I never got that chance. So
Yeah.
now as an adult, I've had to work through, feeling like a woman in just a completely different way, not with my breasts, even though yes, I have because I don't have any, but more or less, like, okay, well, I don't have boobs and I can't have a baby, like, and so
Yeah.
there's all these stories you have in your head based off of the cards that you're dealt. And then you've got a society out there and these people in these industries honing in on that, whether it's beauty or plastic, and being like, well, you're not this without all of these things. And it's just such a predatory space to be in. And when you're vulnerable, you're like, you're right, like, yep, you're right. So for me, it was just like, I was like, oh, well, go on IVF. And that's just not something I'm interested in for my own personal reasons. Everyone can do that for themselves,
Right.
but I don't want to put myself at the risk for some of the things that happen with that. I'm just not mentally for that. But I am informed and I'm saying, no, I'm good. Right. But some people aren't. And then they go into these things and then all of a sudden they're in a situation, they're like, now my life is completely upside down. And you could have just said, hey, this might happen. And maybe that would have stopped someone, but that
Absolutely.
stops someone from putting money in your pocket.
Yeah.
Right. So, right.
It's crazy,
So
but like, and you know what? Listen, and this is where that fine line is, right? Not everybody is a candidate for a deep flap, right? Like, there's
totally.
women out there that are very fit, they have no fat on their stomach or their back or whatever, and I feel horrible because if they're not a candidate for the deep flap, the only other option would be the implants, right? And obviously that's their choice, but make sure that they understand all the things that come with having the breast implants. Like, now there's the FDA has some type of checklist, right? And I actually
Oh,
pulled it
okay.
off of the internet, whatever. And there's like, I think it's 10 pages. And this is supposed to be given to the patient when they get the implants, right?
Wow.
And there's a checklist. First of all, we all know that, well, it's now this big black box warning that comes
Mhm.
on the implants. Well, you don't see the implants when when they're being put into you. So you'd never see
No.
this big black warning label. Okay, well, there's one that's on this box now that says, but right there in this consent, it shows BII. Let me see if I can do this.
Yep. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it gives
That's
you
not
all the lists. So like, this is the consent. That's like, had they given this to me when I first got mine, I'd be like, oh my God, really? But it
mhm.
explains everything in here. So
That's nuts.
it's
That's
amazing.
that's why I think it's so kind of comical. It's like, okay, that's there, but who's enforcing that it's being used? Who's checking into making sure that that information is getting to the patient? It's the same thing with people don't know that Botox comes with black box warnings as well.
Yep.
And there is that allergen. I don't know if that was the brand that you had, but there's that
Yeah.
allergen. They do breast implants that have been recalled. They
I
also
think
do
I think
Botox.
I had, let me see. So I had Mentor. Mentor was my silicone ones. McGann, which is I think it's allergen based. Yep. So, yep,
Yep.
here's
There you
my
go.
implants, the ones that were recalled. Thank God I kept this card. Thank
No
God
doubt.
I kept it.
No doubt. That's so crazy. Wow. Well, I'm so sorry that this all happened to you. Well, I want to say sorry, but
But
people
there's
all
a
go through
silver
shit,
lining.
right? Like people are always going to go through stuff, and and I'm obviously that you believe in God, right? So that is obviously something that has been probably restored and solidified in your faith of
Oh, yes.
understanding that everything in this world is not going to be beautiful and peachy clean, and it's shit that we have to go through this. But I think it's how can you rise up from that? How can you then push that out to everyone around you and ripple that effect and stop that from maybe happening for someone else. That's why I always speak out about birth control, women that are having infertility or having issues. I'm like, have you looked at your birth control? Like, all of these Hashimoto's,
Yep.
thyroid issues that are coming
Yep.
out. Like, is that all to do with that? And again, I'm not saying any of those things. I just want people to start thinking about it because we're so busy in our day to day lives, especially with trying to just pay for to live. And we're all working and we're all, got some sort of illness we're trying to fix. We don't always have time to look deep into things. And that's why we rely on specialists. But unfortunately, not all specialists are specialists, or maybe they don't like, I always find it really interesting when plastic surgeons say they don't know about breast implant illness. What do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean? If you want to be the best surgeon, don't you want to know the ins and outs of everything of what you're doing? Don't you want to have pride in your work? Don't you want people to say, this surgeon gave me everything I need to know going into this? I don't know if you know Dr. John Konevsky from Beverly Hills.
Mm.
He used to do implants. I've had him on the show, so I'll send you the episode that he was
Okay.
on. And now he essentially does like the fat transfers, right? And all natural. And the surgery is completely different. It's not just going into a cold hospital and just put under and then open up and new. It's all about the honoring and as a ceremony is what he calls it. Like, it's a whole thing and a whole process, because there is place for women, like yourselves too, like you said, that have the breast cancer. Like, where do they go to get that restored for them, where they're not going to get hurt, right? Like, it's beautiful that there's these other options that are coming out, and looking at as more of like a transformative journey, and the whole part of it of in your mind and all of that. Like, I've also had Dr. Brown on as well, Dr. Amanda Savage Brown, about
Oh,
her book of
yes.
explanting, right? And
Yep.
discussing, and this is a part I never thought, where she says, take your time, because there's a mental journey you need to go
Oh,
on as
yeah.
well. And so does Dr. K says that as well. Like, don't, you make the decision to implant. It's not always best to just jump right in and get the surgery the next day, like I was speaking before. It take time to figure out who the surgeon is, making sure they align with you, and
Yes.
that they're going to talk to you, and that it's not going to be like, oh, let's get you in and then just
You're a
put you on the
number.
table for something else, right? It's okay. How are we going to mentally help you? Dr. Kahey has therapists there helping with the mental side of it. So it's like, these things aren't inherently, I think, terrible. They're just now looked at as like a transactional thing, as opposed to like a experience and an intentional one, right? And I think if we could have surgeons go into that, where it's more of an experience and you have full understanding of what you're walking into, then I think I'd feel more comfortable with it. But so many women are just, it's safe, it's
Yeah.
effective, you can run
It's
over it
right.
with a
It's a
car,
gummy. It's
which,
a
like,
gummy. It's gummy bear. Like nothing's gonna
yeah,
seep into my
yeah,
body. Like, oh my God,
lies.
think about it.
My
Think
girlfriend
about
has
it.
silicone on her ribs. Thank you. You
Yeah.
can't get you can't
No.
get that out.
No.
That's there
Yep.
forever now. So what do you
Yep.
mean? And I love that. Oh, you can run over it with a car. In what world is a woman gonna lie down and be like, run over me? Like,
Yep.
I'm sure you'd probably be dead. So that whole, you can run. I never understood that, like,
No.
selling feature to me. I'm like, cool, because I lie down and get run over all the time.
Right.
That's something
The
that
thing that
concerns me.
the thing that sold me with the silicone was the cohesiveness, like the gummy. Like you're like, oh, okay, if it winds up, you know, it's like a gummy
One,
bear. You pull a gummy bear apart, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, that makes sense. So there'll be no silicone going into your body. Oh, well, yeah, it does. It goes
yes.
through everything. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be ruptured. You have
Mm-mm.
this silicone mass
Ooh,
in your body.
yes,
So think
yes, and
about it,
yes.
like it's crazy. And the other thing that people don't realize, and again, you get implants early. Let's say you get them in your 20s, right? You're going to get another set probably in your 30s at some point. You're going to get another set sometime in your 40s and your 50s and your 60s. When do you end? Think about
Yeah.
how many times you're going to have to keep exchanging those implants. You're going to wind
Mhm.
up being at over 100 grand, if not 200
Yeah.
grand by the time
Yeah.
to sit there and exchange all these like all these times.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing I'll say too, that I've said just from my advocacy. If you're going to get implants, I would urge you to save enough, at least if not half, to get an explant. You might not ever need that money, but one thing I hear from so many of my friends that have implants are, I know they're making me sick.
Yep.
I
I
hate
don't
them.
have the
I
money.
want them out, but I do not have the money.
I
And
love
in
it.
this economy, especially in Canada right now, like, there's some people that have been driving back and forth from the States and Canada comparing like grocery prices.
Yep.
We're three times for just produce and good, healthy food. Parents are just struggling. I have a mom friend. She's got three kids. She's a single mom. She works fucking hard. She's like, there's no way I'm ever going to get 10, 10,
Yeah.
$15,000 plus have the money to get off work all of those potentially month or however long it takes to heal. Everyone's different. I
Right.
don't have that kind of money. So now I'm stuck in this forever and I'm continually getting sick and it's getting worse and I don't know what to do. And there's been GoFundMe for some of my friends to get theirs out because they've been, one of our first girls, Bella, she was thinking she was dying. She was on the way to the hospital like, I'm dying. I can't breathe. I don't know what's going on. My whole body is
Oh
just
my God.
shutting down. And
Sad.
she was lying in bed and she's seen it on the news. It was just like when BII was starting to break a couple years ago, like really like more in the mainstream. And she was like, um, that's me.
That's my sign.
That's my sign. And there was emergency surgery. And now she's like so much healthier and she just feels it's just absolutely insane. There's not one girl I've had on the show that have said, no, I don't feel better. Like some of them has not had the most beautiful explant journey. And that's something that people really need to understand as well. Like just because it could make you feel better after, that doesn't mean that the explant is just like easy done. You
No.
walk out and
Right.
you have to
There's a
understand that
lot
it's a
of things.
major surgery.
Yeah, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that go into mentally too. You know, you're
Yeah.
so used to your body looking the way they look with the
Mhm.
implants. And for me, I didn't even care. Honestly,
Yeah.
I was like, whatever it is, it is. I don't care. You know what? Victoria's Secret makes push-up bras and those chicken cutlet things
100%.
you could put in there. Where
Yeah.
that was where I was like, I don't care. But I understand some other women who are like, oh my God,
Totally.
like this is how I look, and I'm going to be really, really like flat chested or whatever. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of mental that goes into explanting and preparing and everything. So,
Yeah.
but you're right. It's a lot of women don't do it because they can't afford it. That's the biggest thing. I don't know if did you have Ashley on your show she does no double bogeys. She's
No, but I'll have to
okay.
ask her.
Yeah, so me, Robin, and Ashley wound up doing something in California, and it was actually a charity event, and we raised money so that we can have some extra money for somebody who needs an explant. So, like like the GoFundMe pages and everything. I feel like there's so many great avenues out there that we're all trying to help others out there that can't afford it because it is expensive. If it's more
Yeah.
expensive than having the implants put in.
100%. And that's the one thing that bothers me is like none of that is discussed, right? And like where's the mental health aspect of it? Like you should be going in and you should be sitting down, in my opinion, with a therapist and
Yes,
talking to them and making sure this is for the right reasons. I'm speaking specifically for myself. That wouldn't have helped my body dysmorphia. How do I know that? Because I have been in the best shape of my life and still have body dysmorphia about it. So it had nothing to do with what the outside of my body was going to look like. It all had to do with my mindset and how I
correct.
viewed myself and the work I had to do to erase 37 years of negative stories about my body. That takes time, that takes work, that takes practice, that takes awareness, that takes diving in and being uncomfortable, right? And I think women that have had to go through explants and sit through that uncomfortable of not knowing of how their boobs looks ideal to them, right? Because you get them and that's your perfect tits, right? And then having to go to something that maybe not might be perfect, but
Right.
it's healthy. And there's a mind aspect of having to then heal that part because if you get, in my opinion, if you get breast implants for body dysmorphia and then it's the validation of that, the minute that goes away, if you haven't healed that part of needing that validation that that's what makes you beautiful inside, from other people, I think then it's even harder to then heal when they come out because then that part of you is now gone as well. So, like, I just don't think mentally a lot of people think about that when they're
Oh yeah.
going into it, right? Of being like, I might get these and I might still not feel beautiful, or
Correct.
I might get them and I might feel beautiful and I might have to get them out. And what is that mentally going to look like for me? And not saying don't get them, just having that understanding that there's a huge mindset piece to that, a mental health aspect that sometimes just getting the surgery and changing the outside, I'm sure it'll help. Obviously, it'll boost that confidence.
Right.
But if
It's
it's
only
deep body
temporary.
dysmorphia, it's not, in my opinion, one of what I've seen, it really doesn't truly help. Or maybe that part's fine, but then now you start searching somewhere else. Now you're going to start getting maybe Botox or a nose job because
Right.
this was fine and you feel okay, you know? So, but then I have girls in my DMs about rhinoplasty. They can't breathe. They can't go out in public because they've had a botched nose job. They, can't speak out because the surgeons have gag ordered them and they could lose their homes if they speak out against them. And
Hmm.
it is such a dark space that I just cannot not keep talking about it
Yeah.
in
And
that
thank
fact
you
of
for
just kind
this.
of shining a light on it because it's like, y'all do whatever you want. Just be informed, please. Like, I just don't want to see women feeling less than when they're trying to do something to make them feel better. And I see it a lot. It's like,
Yeah.
I thought this would make me feel better. And it's like, can we please, surgeons, keep doing what you're doing, but can we bring some mental health aspect into this,
Right.
please?
Yeah.
Right? Like make
Yep.
sure we're doing it at the right time. Like financially, can you afford this right now? Financially, can you explant if you need to? Financially, if it doesn't work out and you need to take some time off, can you do that with children? Can you do that with your job? Because then
Yep.
women get in these situations and they don't think that for many reasons. Why would you? You're paying a professional. You
Right.
should be trusting them. They're doctors.
Right. And you think, okay, the first time you get them done, you're like, okay, whatever. I don't have to worry for another 10 years. Well, you don't know because you know what? There can be those complications, like you said. And there is times where you have to go back and maybe have capsular contraction or whatever it may be. And you have to
Totally.
go again. So, like, you just don't think of all the stuff that comes down that pipeline. And like you said, I think it's, you know what? If you're going to have the consultation, you should definitely have a consultation too with a mental help, mental therapist
Mhm.
or something also, just to make sure that, everything is aligned.
Yes, yeah, because you do like it's kind of sometimes not to be that girls break up and then they cut their hair, they go get a sleeve after they get divorced, whatever, we all do it.
I love it.
But like and in those moments, and I will be the first to say, I didn't research tattoos, I didn't research heavy metal when it came to that. Now that I have, I've put a full halt to be like, okay, I need to research this before, but I was that like, I love it, I will never take it back, I don't regret it, I
Yeah.
love it, I think
Yep.
it's hot as shit.
I
But
love
there's a
it. Me too. It is definitely
Thank you.
hot.
Thank you. But there's a part of me was like, "Bitch, what did you put yourself at risk here? Was that your mental health in the trash when you were getting your sleeve because of the heavy metals that were going through your body and you just didn't have any awareness? And everyone who gets tattooed is fine. Everyone's tattooed.
Right. It's been
Pirates
going
got
on for so
tattooed.
long.
Vikings, they do it in prison, and but and I'm not saying it is, but it's just having that understanding so that I know that if I do get sick or I do have a reaction, hey, maybe this isn't the best ink. Maybe I should find someone that has a little bit more cleaning. I'm all grayscale, so that is a benefit because there's no dyes or colors in
Oh,
any of my
okay.
tattoos. So for me, I know that that's
That's
better,
better.
but
Okay. I didn't
but
know that,
not.
but that's good
But
to know.
yeah, yeah, because there's just less in it, right? Less pigmentation,
Yeah.
apparently. So but I've had white, which is the most painful. But we don't know things, and it's okay. I think so many people have shame of being like, "Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed. I didn't look into that," or after something happens, and that's just life. No one knows everything, even
Nope.
though people like to think that they do. You have to have a balance of personal accountability and responsibility to grace with yourself, right? Like,
Yes.
fool me once, like you can, if you keep doing something, then yeah, you're probably a shithead and that's probably on you. But if you got implants because you thought that that would make you feel good and it didn't, and now you're sick, that that's to me, that's just part of your journey. It's not your fault,
Yeah.
right? Like, but the best thing that you can do after that is share that and tell
Exactly.
people,
Yep.
right? Because even if one person has that nugget in their head and then say they're like, fuck it, I don't care what these bitches says, I'm still gonna go get it, do you, baby, like that's fine. But then say in 3 6 months down the road you start feeling sick and the doctor's like, we don't know, it can't be your breast implants, we don't
Right.
know. And every test is coming back, because you hear this, all these tests will come back from these women saying negative, negative, we don't know.
Yep.
Like you said, you had it, we don't know. Well, I bet you if you maybe got that swap now, let's dial it ahead and say you were going into 2023
Mm-hmm.
and maybe doing that swap, even just yourself would have become aware of all of this and you would have been like,
Wait a
hold
second.
on, what
Test.
is this?
Yep. BIA,
Right?
ALCL, test it for that, like
Yes,
what is this?
yes, yes. Because if they don't know that, then how are they going to ask for those testings, right?
Mhm.
So if that doctor's not knowledgeable, especially the ones that kind of want to put their blinders on to being like, no, nothing, there's nothing wrong with anything we do medically. We're
Yep.
perfect.
Yep.
Nothing goes wrong. That's dangerous. I love the doctors and the practitioners that are like, we don't get it right all the time.
Yep.
This is what I think. This is what has happened to people. You make a decision, you make your informed consent. That's
Exactly.
great.
And that's
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 great.
the key. That's
Hmm.
the key. As long as you
Yep.
have all the information and making your decision, then you can't, you can't say anything bad, right? Because you
Hmm.
were given, I mean, we were not given this checklist. We were told it was safe, like all the different things that we were told. Now,
Not so
you
true.
the information's out there. So now you make your decision.
Yeah, totally. And that's why I love sharing everyone's story, even though a lot of everyone's is the same in the grand scheme of it. It's very also unique too. And it kind of blows my mind how many different people and professionals have done this. Like, it's not like y'all went to the same doctor. It's
Right.
not like, you're in the same place. We literally have Canadians, Americans, Australians. Just on my show alone, I know there's girls in England that have spoken out about it as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
Right? Like, we're all over the place here, and it's happening to everybody. So it's not just, one place, it's everywhere. And so I think it's super important that we continue. And it's not popular, like, and it's popular in the communities for the survivors, but I know some friends are just like, shut up. And I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yep.
I can't until everybody knows, because some of these people are people I grew up with that almost died from it, and for me, that would have been strictly for ego and vanity if I got them. And I'm not saying that's what other people do, so don't come at me. I'm saying for myself, that's what it would have been for. It would have been for my body. It would have made my body dysmorphia worse. I would have got sick. I don't know where I would have been.
Yeah.
So to reiterate from the beginning, thank you, because and every woman that's watching that has spoken out or even just told their friends about it. You don't have to necessarily go on a podcast and tell everybody. Not everyone wants to do that, and I understand that. But even to the people around you, because you never know who you say about at work. Maybe Becky's sister wants to get implants and she's not comfortable with it, but she doesn't know how to tell her, like, hey, be careful. But she could be like, hey, I watched this episode with Brandy and Stephanie, and look at Stephanie's, and then, oh, go look at this podcast. Oh, there's like 7 different episodes on BII with different women from
Yeah.
different parts of the world, right?
Yep.
Then at least you have that. You have that in your arsenal. So then, like I said, if you go and get implants, that's fine. Just please make sure that this could be a result, and that you
Have
might
them
have to
with the
explant.
information.
Yeah, exactly. And just know mentally that you're in the right spot. And I just say that because it makes me so sad to hear these women go through all of that and then say that they still don't feel beautiful or they still don't
Hmm.
feel worthy. And that just, it kills me that they're not saying, hey, if that's the reason, know that you might not find that here,
Right.
right? Like, you might, and that's great. I hope that for everybody,
Right.
putting yourself at risk and doing that, I hope it has a high reward, right? High risk, high reward. But
Yeah.
there's also sometimes if it's a high reward that comes with a high risk. And like I think most people, 90% of people probably say their biggest fear is getting cancer, which
Oh yeah.
I feel like 50 years ago, people were like dying of older age and it wasn't as much, like, obviously cancer. But now it feels like so many more people that I know are dealing with it. And I think it's because of things like this,
Yes.
right? The
And you're
plastic
and a lot of
surgery.
younger. A
Yeah,
lot
a
of
lot
people are
younger.
younger. It's like
Yeah.
crazy. You know.
Yes, people weren't getting Botox at 20 when I was
Mhm.
19. People were
Yeah.
getting it like 60s. And
Right.
now it's like 21-year-olds are getting it because it's preventative. And
Right.
my question is,
Is it
what's that
really?
going to do? Yeah, is it
Hmm.
really? And what's that going to do? And like muscle atrophy, that's a whole other conversation that will be our next episode, because we're going to have 2 people back on talking about Botox illness as well, because that's, again,
Oh yeah.
another thing where most people don't know and they don't talk about. And some girls I've even say in the implant space have been like, oh, I had my boobs out, I didn't even think about Botox. Like, I feel a bit better, but I'm still sick. And then they'll stumble on like Never Talks and Gretchen and be like, oh my God, but I'm getting Botox. Well, maybe this isn't why I'm feeling better,
Yep.
because,
You're
the
putting
same
that into
kind of,
your body,
exactly. It comes with a black box warning as well. And
which
it's
is
no joke.
crazy. So
It's no
crazy to even think
joke.
about that now. Like, really? Botox? Like, ah, you know what? I think it's just time for us to be happy with what God gave us. And you know what?
Mhm. Fuck the rest.
Exactly. Just
And
enjoy life. Life is too
yeah.
short.
Yes, yes. And I feel like if there's an odd way, this is how I kind of think about it sometimes. Like, if, let's just say you don't like your boobs and you have to go through, let's say how I did it, where I just super uncomfortable all the time. I'm in the fitness space all the time. There's bikini models, they have perfect bodies, huge tits. I'm always staring at them. I'm always jealous of them. But I just had to come to a place where it's like, I am beautiful on my own uniqueness and I don't need to be the same as someone else's beauty, right? And sometimes you really have to get out of that mindset of how everyone's supposed to look
Yep.
and break that towards just looking the best for you.
Exactly.
Because what could look good on me is not going to look good on like you, and vice
Right.
versa. I don't think I'd look good. Not saying you got these, but I wouldn't look good with a triple D boobs. Like, I don't think that would look good for my frame, and that's okay. But we have to break this. Like, if you're not that ideal look that people are going for, that's okay. That's
Right,
such a
and
huge
listen,
thing.
there's things now though that you can look like you have bigger chest if you want to. You know what?
Totally.
No one knows what's going on underneath your top, so stick the little chicken cutlet things in your bra or whatever if you want to have a little more oomph or something. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
but
Yeah. Totally.
exactly. So there's things you can do. All right, yes, you're not going to have them when you're naked or whatever, but okay. whatever. It is what it
It
is,
is.
you know?
Yeah, but you have something else, and I feel more empowered by my small chest, you know, and
Yeah.
and now it's like, oh, I get so excited about and starting to lean into things that fit my body and look good on small chest, right? And
Yep.
we say that with like body sizes too. Like, don't try and fit into clothes that just they're not meant for your body, right? Like, there's some things I'll buy, and I'm like, I'll have like a a bathing suit with like a cut in the middle. And I was like, oh, this will look so cute. And I'm like, I don't have boobs to fill it out. So it immediately just squishes. And I'm
Right.
like, well, this isn't cute. But I just bought like this really beautiful dress for my Christmas party tonight that has a cut down here. And I don't have to wear a bra.
which
And
is
I'm like,
which is the
this is
best thing in the whole world.
amazing.
I'm telling
Right?
you, like I love the fact that I don't have to wear a bra. I do, but I don't have to wear a bra. And I'm
Exactly.
like, it is the best feeling. And like, you know what? Like, and you know what? I bet you would look so beautiful with some type of like long necklace that just comes right down in the middle, right there. Like that is just
Totally.
so hot and so like, you know
Right?
what? And you can rock it. So
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what it is, right? Is leaning into, I think that was my original point, is leaning into what makes you unique and beautiful for
yep,
you. And once you feel powerful and confident and you can be like, hey, then you empower other women. Me and my girlfriend were having this talk about being small chested. And she said she was watching, I don't know what show, some sort of Viking show or that dragon show. I'm terrible at shows. And it was like full blown sex, and she had small boobs, and she was just full blown in that sex scene with her small boobs. And she thought, holy shit, she's hot. Like, this looks good. And she's like, that's me and my body. And then she
yeah,
started feeling more empowered about it. And
yeah,
that's totally what I'm meaning is like, sorry, that's what I was trying to say before. Being uncomfortable and trying to learn that lesson in the moment. Or let's just say for me, I mask it, I get fake boobs. I still have that problem. I'm comfortable for 10 years. All of a sudden now I got to take my boobs out, and now I have to deal with the uncomfortable of removal, right?
yeah,
So it's like sometimes we do things because we think it makes us feel better, but it's actually doesn't. And then we're comfortable, and then we have to deal with the uncomfortable after.
yeah,
Let's say if people that don't want to deal with their health and fitness, if they don't want, like, I'm not saying you need to go to the gym every day, but you can go for a walk for 20 minutes a day. You can walk up your stairs a couple times. You got to move your body, right? You don't do that now, and you don't go through the uncomfortable of having to exercise and put that into your life. Illness is going to trap you later in life, where you're going to be
mm-hmm.
forced to
Oh
then
yeah,
make yourself feel better, right? So that's kind of what I'm meaning, where I feel in this circumstance, there's not all circumstances, that I went through the uncomfortable of just working with my mindset of being like, how can I just accept this instead of, and I'm very grateful because I was very close. And if someone had put $10,000 in my bank account 5, 6 years ago, and I was really into fitness too. So I was struggling with the like not being able to work out part. So I was like, oh, that's a lot of time. Like, that's a lot of money, but time and money, done. And
yep,
I would have been so sick because I just know my body.
oh
It
yeah,
would not, if it accepted it. I can't even
absolutely.
wear jewelry sometimes. So I don't know where in my mind, you know, where's the thought of like putting an object in there that's like safe at room temperature, but then you put it in a body, and a body is hotter. I don't know. I
And with
don't
all
know
the
how.
chemicals, think about all
Yeah,
the
I don't know.
chemicals that goes
I
into
don't know.
that.
Yes. And you think like they talk about microplastics leaking into your water bottle and drinking microplastics.
Yeah,
And it sits in the sun, and you keep that in your car. The sun goes on the plastic's going in your water. You're drinking that. Okay. You take an implant with plastic, essentially, put it in the body, heat it up,
yep.
and
And all the
nothing's going to happen.
chemicals. Don't forget all the
Exactly.
chemicals, whatever. I don't even know what's in it, but there's chemicals. It's silicone. Like we're not talking, just water. We're talking,
Coconut oil.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We're talking something like things that don't belong in the body.
Not nature, not
Yeah.
nature. And it's
Yep.
just I don't say these to shame anybody that has them. When people say nothing's happened to me, I'm like, thank fucking God.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
Great.
Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's great, but just keep this pin in the back of your mind. Keep this
That
little seed back there. If it does, you know why. And if something like cancer terrifies you like it does for me, I think that was always my hold off of being like, ah, like if I do this, is that, and I'm not saying that that's what happened to you, I'm not saying that happened to anybody, but
right.
is there a chance? If there's a chance,
Right.
it's almost impossible sometimes for you to be able to link it. You know what I mean? Like, but how are they? So you just kind of have to know. You just have to have
Right.
faith that and you have to trust your body. And I feel like I bet you now you probably feel more in tune with your body than you ever have.
Oh, absolutely.
I
100%.
love that. I love that.
Absolutely.
So before we go off today, this has been such an amazing conversation, Stephanie.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. But before we get off today, is there any advice for anybody that is thinking about getting implants and also thinking about explants, kind of both?
I think the major thing is to just make sure you do your homework on everything. Make sure that if you are going to go down that road of breast implant, get all your information.
Mhm.
If you are somebody that's going to be explanting, make sure you find that doctor that understands that whole, I need the implant with the capsule out. Make sure they do the end block. That to me is the most important thing. Do your research. There's tons and tons of platforms out there. There's tons of information now that you can Google breast implant illness. You can Google end block capsulotomy. You'll find it, and just make sure that whoever the doctor that you go to understands it. And I think that's like the biggest key is just finding that doctor, because ultimately that's the one that's, your hands are in their, your life is in their hands. So
Yeah. You're pioneering you through that and making sure that the opportunities that you need are there and that you're informed.
exactly.
Because if you're not, you could be put right back in the position you were when you went on the table, right?
Correct.
And I think a lot of people too always think that I think that people shouldn't have plastic surgery or that they shouldn't get breast implants. And that's not it at all. I think do what you want. Just because I don't doesn't mean that I don't respect people needing to do that. That I understand that. I go to the gym. I'm very conscious of, my looks as well. I think about getting Botox all the time, but I'm also, like I said, a freak of nature, and I would not be able to sit and think about what is that doing just because I know, like, oh, birth control was told to me that it was safe and effective, and now look at me.
Hmm.
And is that the same? So, like, just nothing in my body puts me less risk is how my mind
Correct.
thinks about
Yep.
it. Like, if I don't do it, then it's not going to be able to hurt me. I'm an asshole that drinks energy drinks every day. I'm not perfect. I know I've got my things, but at the end of the day, I just want people to be informed so that they're not sick, because nothing
Exactly.
hurts me more to hear people being sick. And I'm really glad that um, with yours, it wasn't like for the first 8 years, like I'm glad that you got to have your experience and, be able to see that good part and have that time so that when you found out your health was at risk, it was an easy, like, that's fine,
Yep.
take them, right? Because I feel like you did have that time with them where you weren't sick, right? So you did have a positive, you had that moment. But then
Exactly.
I think women get to a point where they're just so sick that the aesthetic part of it, you're just like, I don't even care. I don't
Yep.
care anymore.
Just
Just
get
be
them out.
done.
I want
Just
to
get
feel
them out.
better. I want
I
to
want
feel
to feel
better. That's
better.
the biggest thing. Want to feel
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it might not happen right away, but I feel like 90% of the women that I've heard of do feel better. And some
Yep.
things last longer, some things don't, but they're always continually getting better. And it's their mental health. I think that's the
Absolutely.
biggest part for explanting is seeing your guys' mental health of like, it's like this veil is lifted and it's like, yeah, I'm still dealing with stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's done. Like
Yeah.
I know I'm on that next chapter. I'm
Exactly.
healing. This is my
Exactly. I'm
healing
healing.
era.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm going to advocate. It's like awareness, they go through it, healing, and then it's like advocacy. It seems to line up that way because then
Yep.
it's like you have that power and you're like, fuck this. I don't want anybody else going through this. No, like not at all.
Yeah.
So, like,
Nope.
I always tell women, you hate the patriarchy, then stop putting money in their pockets and stop making them think that you need to get stuff to be beautiful because we're all unique. I have stuff that I would
Absolutely.
love to change, but then I'm like, if I change that, would that be me?
Nope.
And you hear some women have that too, right? They don't recognize themselves after a nose job. It's not what they wanted, their skin started to atrophy because they've done Botox for 10 years and it's just not accepting it anymore. Like, it's kind of wild when you look at the negative part of it. So my biggest advice is look at the negative stuff. Look at the
Yes.
bad stuff, right?
Yep.
Look at the really bad and don't think, "Oh, that's one at a time." No, go on Reddit and see people's experiences. Don't just like if you Google stuff about this, you'll find millions of pages of surgeons telling you all the positivity, okay? You need to find people that have experiences because no offense, these doctors are here to give you the service that you're asking for. You want implants, we're going to give you that. They're not your wellness coach. They're not
Yep.
your nutritionist. They're not your GP. They're giving you plastic surgery, and that is their job. It's like when you go to a pharmacist, they're there to give you your medication that the
Correct.
doctor prescribes, right? So that's how I think about it. They don't, to me, they should have a responsibility of telling you what's going on and the possible risks. But at the end of the day, they are plastic surgeons. They don't go to school to understand how your gut works with your health, your mental health. They don't go to school. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's not their
Yep.
focus. Like they go and they learn, but that's not their focus. That's
Right.
not their point.
Plastic
You're not going
surgery
to
is
them.
their focus. So
It's their focus, right? So to them, it's probably not something that they think they need to tell you because you're an adult. Look it up yourself, right? Like, but no one has time, and everyone's just trying so hard to love themselves, and so f that. There's just going to be loud mouths like me saying, just be informed, right?
that's
And
it.
then
Be
know,
informed. That's it.
yeah,
That's what we want to, take out of this this podcast is just be informed. Have all your information and you
yeah,
make the decision that's right for you.
yeah. And actually, I just want one more because we don't want to skip this topic. Any advice for women that have been diagnosed with breast cancer or going through their journey? Do you have any good words of wisdom for them?
Um, you know, again, find yourself a skilled surgeon. Know there's other options besides having implants. If you decide to go down that road of having a double mastectomy, yes, you can go flat chested as well. I mean, that's always an option, but there are other options. And I know that the deep flap is something that is definitely, out there now, and more people know. I have two girlfriends that, well, both had breast cancer, both have implants, had no idea about deep flap, and now both of them are seriously considering taking out their implants because they are sick and they're going to go down that road with the deep flap. So there's other options. So just ask your
Okay.
doctor, what other options besides implants are there, and you know,
Reach out to the community too. I find you guys are the best resources, especially because there's people all over the place. So it's like, yeah, you found someone in Florida, but now, so if someone's in Florida, you can send them to that one in Florida, but you're in New York. So you've got one in New York. And like, I know someone in California. Like,
yep,
we got people, we know the
exactly,
people. You need a
exactly.
mentor, you need a therapist. Well, Dr. Amanda Savage Brown, she's been on the show. She's a
Yes,
huge
love her.
advocate. She has a book, right? Like,
Yes,
so there are people there now that are fiercely wanting to help. So you're out there, you're in Canada, reach out to me. I will put you in touch with all the women I know across Canada, wherever you are. If you're in the States, reach out to Stephanie. She'll be able
yes.
to keep you because she has people that she knows across the country and the world
Exactly, like
that are
Robin, like
doing, right?
Ashley, like I have,
Exactly.
exactly. We have a very,
Yeah.
very close, close knit family here.
Close knit family. I love it. We're gonna get
Close
that on a
knit
shirt.
family.
We're a close knit family because it's all about the
It's
tits, right?
true.
Now that's gonna have to be the punchline. That's the name of
That's
the
a punchline.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming on today. I don't think it's going to be the last time. I actually would really love to have a bunch of you on at one time. Having, like a Robin, Amanda, even if we could try it hard with Bianca, but get us all on because I think it's so cool to see everybody sitting there and supporting each other and cheering
Absolutely,
each other on and just showing that like the numbers are growing and it's super unfortunate that the numbers are growing in that sense, but it's also amazing. It's like, I don't want all
absolutely,
these women to have BII, but I'm so happy that they're finding this out. You know what I mean? It's like,
exactly.
I'm so happy. It's weird to say I'm happy that you know that you have breast implant illness and have to explant, but I'm happy for you. It's like,
We're all in the
it's like,
same boat.
yes. And if you're healing, you understand what that means, right? So, yeah. So, again,
Absolutely.
Stephanie,
Yes.
thank you so much for
Thank
today. We'll have you
you.
back on the show. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys for stopping by the show today. We appreciate you so, so much. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, make sure to show us some love on our Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest page, the Be Real Babe Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble channels, like those episodes, and turn on the notification bells. You can find our video version of the show on YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify, or you can catch the audio version on Apple and Google Podcast. But stay tuned for more realness coming to you soon. Until next time, babes.